What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. And here we have this article. And before I get into this article, let me just give you a quick warning that I'm going to have to, tiptoe around because, the powers that be, the overlords, as we shall call them on today's episode, um, are, detecting things. So, I hope you guys can follow along. I'm sure that it's going to be pretty obvious what I'm talking about. So, just a warning beforehand. Now, here we see that a top cardiologist, if you guys haven't heard of this guy, his name is this right here. Okay. And the reason I'm not, oh, 1 second, there's a fly over here. Gotta swat it out. The reason that Joe Rogan had this interview with him, one of the reasons was to talk about this intentional, whether that be plan, strategy, whatever you want to call it, right? And he's a top cardiologist. That there's an intentional plan to suppress whatever kind of treatments that may help with ailments. If you catch my drift. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to get creative here today. He says that there's intentional plans to suppress treatments for certain ailments. Sorry, this fly just keeps bothering me. Okay. And there's a concerted effort to instill fear and conceal these protocols in order to justify measures, as you see highlighted here, that are unconstitutional. And now let me rephrase that, because there's been efforts, and this has happened before. This isn't the first time this has happened where they enforce something like this that's highlighted, medicines, right? It's happened before, but not on a global scale, at least that I'm aware of, to this magnitude and to the coercion that's been taking place. Now here, this former vice chief of internal medicine at Baylor University Medical Center, so he's no slouch, and professor at Texas A&M University, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of his videos. He's one of the most widely cited authors of research in his field and testified before the U.S. Senate in November of 2020. And he says that he's actually been under intense scrutiny from the Dems, that Democratic Party, for what they call quote-unquote misinformation. And one of the things that you've noticed is that there's only one side to the story that's being told to the majority of people. And if you want to hear alternative views, you have to go elsewhere to find that. And they make it extremely difficult for you to try to find and wiggle through the mud and find truth. However, that doesn't stop people from this channel, subscribers from this channel, because you guys are putting in the effort to try to find information. And people like this are a way in which you can be informed. And I'd highly recommend seeing his presentations, right? He also shed light here, it says, on cardiac events that have been transpiring. And he co-authored it with Jessica, who's a virologist and epidemiologist in Canada, right? And they're reviewing their system. Okay? And I feel like I'm tiptoeing on everything just because. But anyways, here, I would play the video for you, but, the overlords would come and strike it down with lightning or something. So here's the video. If you guys want to go watch it, go ahead and search it under, Joe Rogan and the doctor's name. And what we see is, which it's pretty evident, and here he outlines it, is he says that there's definitely intentionality, comprehensive suppression of early treatments. And that has led people, I know one of the things that a lot, I know, for example, Aaron Rodgers, who's a quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, right? He was under intense scrutiny because he was talking about that cattle dewormer medicine, right? And on national TV, they were making fun of him and they're saying he was using cattle dewormer, when in reality, that treatment was created by an individual who won a Nobel Peace Prize for that, and which has been proven to be effective in humans. And so his point is saying, hey, we see that there's a lot of fear-mongering, etc., 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 and it's causing people to react a certain way because that's how they want you to be. They want you to be in a constant state of fear. And he said in the U.S., only about 500 doctors really understand what's going on, and there's about 1 million, he added. And if you take the percentages of that, that is extremely, extremely small, right? 1 million? What's 1% of 1 million? Do the math. 10,000, right? Because 100,000 would be 10%. Now 10,000 would be 1%. Okay? Now, what 1/10% would be 1,000. And this is half of that. So that's 1/20%. If I'm doing my math correctly. That's extremely small. That's like 0.0005. Extremely small. And he says he believes only about 500 doctors really know what's going on. And it could be that these are the doctors that are brave enough to really be outspoken. Who knows how many actually know what's going on but are deciding to go along with the narrative. And that's why on this channel, I've decided to go ahead and talk about these things. Yeah, I have to tiptoe and stuff, but I'm getting the information out and I'm providing you with things that you can look up on your own. I know you guys can, if you have a Twitter, you can go and follow To the Lifeboats. He puts out a lot of content and he talks about a lot of things, right? About anecdotal evidence. And it's anecdotal evidence goes a long ways. Why do you think Twitter, that after Jack Dorsey stepped down, the new CEO, the first thing he did was ban any content or media that if it's not from the party that's being displayed in that media and it doesn't have their consent, they'll go ahead and take that media down. So if you're posting a video of someone else without their consent, it will be taken down. So, and that is a way to minimize anecdotal evidence. So, with that being said, we have seen suppression of information, suppression of medicines, let's call it that, okay? Suppression of a lot of things. And each day that passes by, it's becoming increasingly difficult to get access to this. So don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. This is the Digital Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.